Hello everyone, we're at Bella Vista Rave Cafe. We've got Benjamin Whyte with us, who is a lending specialist, especially in residential, home loans, refinancing, if you want to buy your first home or downsize and the rest. He's the man to go to. Now, real estate and finance is probably very much related, and it's a big topic out there, and I think advice, getting the right advice is very critical for an investor or a first home buyer. Now the market's pretty volatile, you would say, to some extent, where the banks might increase the rates or keep it as is. In terms of, let's take, investors, where do you see the investors market going so far, as far as the lenders are concerned, the banks are concerned?
Yes. Okay, well, we've seen a lot of changes towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year from the bank's point of view in regards to residential investments. They have been a bit more stricter in lending money to investors, which has made it harder for them to borrow, which we can also see in the market has had effect on the price. There is some pressure coming in the next couple of months from the banks for residential investors, but it is much easier at the moment to borrow money if you're purchasing an owner-occupied property.
So it's safe to say that if you're an occupier, it's as long as you fit into the criteria of the policies of the banks, it's pretty easy, or it would be easier to get yourself a home loan than if you're an investor.
Not essentially. Mainly you would be just getting a better rate for the home loan.
Better offering from the bank.
Correct, yeah. So for investors, the rate is a bit higher, so that way they'll, it'd be cost more to pay back the loan instead of an owner-occupied loan.
Yeah, okay. Now, for one question for buyers that want to, get into the market, lending perspective, they get all sorts of advice from all different kinds of people. What would you say would be the right thing, what steps to take for a home buyer in getting their finances together and being ready to get into a mortgage?
Yeah. So first thing you want to do is save up a bit of deposit. 5% is always good, but there's also other different methods you can use to purchasing your first home, which people don't know about. You can also use what's called guarantor loans. So if you have a parent or a family member that wants to help you towards borrowing your first home and they have a home, you can use their property as equity to purchasing your home. So it can give you an entry into buying something in the property market.
So in other words, there's a lot of support from your family members and other ways of getting that equity. I think the biggest challenge probably for most home buyers is not so much the serviceability, it's more to do with getting that the initial deposit, because many a times I think the stamp duty is quite a lot, especially if you're buying an existing property. Yep. And on top of that, you got the deposit, so it kind of stacks up. And I think genuine savings is another one as well, I guess. So these are the things with home buyers that are looking to enter the market. But in terms of investors, say someone who's already has a property and is looking to buy the first or second investment property, things have changed a lot in the last year or two. So in the current market, what is it that you see is the biggest issue that most investors find in getting their investment property or buying an investment property?
Yeah. So the biggest issues I come across with investors trying to buy their first investment property or second investment property is that they have too high of a credit card limit or personal limit, and that does affect your borrowing capacity. So I would advise to reducing these limits and increase your borrowing capacity to purchase your first and second investment property.
Now, a key question for many borrowers, when they go to the bank, they feel that the brokers are doing less or the service is not as good. Now, what is the key difference between a broker, the service that you get from a broker, and the bank? Would that be any different? Going to a broker, would you get a better deal, cheaper deal, or is it the same thing?
Yeah. Okay, well, going to a broker, you definitely get more options. If you went straight to the bank, you're only limited to their 9 to 5 working hours and Monday to Friday. Whereas the broker, he can come see you after hours, on weekends, much more contactable. He can offer you
a lot of options of lenders, I guess.
Yeah, all the lenders out there, all the majors. So you do have a variety. If you just go to a bank, you're set with ANZ, and you have to select their options. Whereas you go to a broker, he has multiple different products, and you can find one to suit your needs.
Right, okay. Now, if someone has questions regarding mortgages or what's the right structure, I believe, because a lot of people talk about mortgage is one thing, getting the mortgage, I've got a loan, but how important do you reckon is structure?
Yeah, structure is very important, especially if you're setting up for investment property. So it's important to see a mortgage broker or a banker to try and set up your first investment property properly.
Yep, that's absolutely right. I've seen a lot of people that can't get into the third, fourth property because they've got into something that's totally not what they expected in the first place. So contact Benjamin Whyte. Any advice or any tips that you require in terms of your mortgage requirements or getting into the property market, or how you could get a better deal on your mortgage, contact Benjamin. I'm sure he can help you out with any of your questions.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Toby.